David Uosikkinen is in the Pocket is sponsored by the School of Rock Main Line and Kroger Percussion. I'd like to thank the School of Rock Main Line, located at 511 Old Lancaster Road in Berwyn. You can visit their website at schoolofrock.com. Ask for Dave Marsh or Rick Allison. I'd like to thank Kroger Percussion at krogerpercussion.com at a /ITP, and it'll bring you to a website. You'll get a 5% discount. Call Eric Metz at 215-669-8588. That's krogerpercussion.com.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the David Uosikkinen in the Pocket podcast. Podcast number 109. Damn. Coming to you from Philadelphia. Actually, I'm in Wayne, PA, and I'm, of course, joined with my good buddy, Freddie Berman, on this beautiful Wednesday. He's looking good. How you doing, Freddie?
I'm better.
Excellent. That's good to hear. We'll probably touch on that, the word better. And honored today to have my good friend and a monster guitar player, touring junkie, Brian Quinn of Candlebox is with us, man. How you doing, dog?
Good, Dave. How's it going? Hi, Fred.
Oh, man, really good, man. We've been talking about this for a while. Every time I would run into Brian, I said, you got to come on my podcast. And he's, he's always been, yeah, man, I love to come on. But, Brian's a busy guy up playing, and he's a warrior, Freddie, man. I ran into Brian in the summertime I think it was right. I think it was it that you were just about to leave on tour. So I think it might've been around, I'm not sure if it's 4th of July or if it was a Labor Day weekend. You were leaving for a nice long, I think at least 6 weeks on the road. Yeah. And you, like me, have some, physical challenges with our hips and our body. And we were talking about that. And I was just so amazed that you were like going out to do it, because I know what it takes, when you got to muscle through some things, and the show must go on. You have that motto, and you bring it. And so for all our friends that are watching the podcast and are joining us, please welcome Brian Quinn of Candlebox.
All right. Thank you much. Very glad to be here. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me. Yeah, we have been talking about it for a while. And all in the name of rock and roll, right, man? We sacrifice our bodies and time and everything else, but love it. You almost love it to a fault.
Yeah, indeed we do. I was just and you're busy even outside of Candlebox. I mean, anytime my wife and I, Dallin, drop into in Philadelphia or outside of Philly in Bridgeport, there's this great establishment. It's called the Bridgeport Rib House that our friend Melissa runs, and it's a terrific place. And Brian, when he's not on the road, he'll be in there playing, sitting in with somebody. Yeah. You're just, and in a lot of ways, just supporting the place. It's your hang, and musically, you're playing there all the time, and we love seeing it. And it runs in your blood, and we have a lot of mutual friends. Yeah. Paul Hammond. Oh yeah, your friend. I got to know your friend Danny Bezel from there. Great singer. Yeah. And you're like 7 days a week, 9 to 5. Music is your life, right? Yeah. I can tell by the guitars.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You just keep hustling, man. And the Rib House is great. I always been playing there on Wednesday nights for 15 years. Just when I'm off the road, they save the gig for me. They're always good with it. But it's like, I always talk about that place. Like it was almost like a doctorate education of musicians in there, man. Yeah. It's like people just kind of see it, and it's, kind of a small dive bar with great barbecue, but it really is like the East Coast version of the Rainbow, man. But
or Nashville. It's a place that's what struck me the first time I went in there, that the one thing about places like that in Nashville, you get really top-notch musicians. I think that come in there and on an off night, and they'll come and play, and they'll hang, and they'll eat, and there's no real places like that in Philadelphia that I know of nowadays.
Dawson.
But the Rib House, right? Like Dawson's, right?
Dawson,
Yeah. That
the Dawson is for me. or
Yeah,
used to be.
right. So let me ask, have you guys ever met before? Freddie, have you met Dan?
No,
Really? Brian, wow, man.
Uh,
Two.
but we have a mutual friend, a guy who used to crew for Amos Lee when I was with him, named Eric Baldoff
oh yeah, I know Eric. Yeah, of
from
course.
Pittsburgh.
From
Of course,
Pittsburgh,
you know. Yeah, man.
great guy, man.
Absolutely.
He'll fill in for us every now and again when we get stuck without a guitar tech. Great guy, man. Great guy, hard worker.
Awesome dude.
People, I'm about to leave on Sunday. We're going out for 6 weeks, and I don't know how. I know our musician friends understand how valuable a great guitar tech is, or just guys that like do, that set up gear. I mean, it like you have a great crew. It like we barely. I think Rob introduces them every night after a show.
Yeah, right.
Because they have so much to do with how things are going to go. I mean, they like after a while you're on the road, you want to walk in and play and have everything they had it the night before. And listen, I don't know. There's a running joke now there with my band, because when we first started, I used to have just a drum kit on stage and really a pair of wedges and maybe a box. But over the years now, because the advent in technology, things have changed. I mean, using a Roland SBD SX, we're doing a lot of things to a click. So I'm using that samples and this, that, and I got myself a one of those Porter and Davis Roland those tactile seats. So my outboard rig is more than, I think I got more gear than anybody else these days.
Right. Yeah.
And they look over and say, what's happened? So you need a tech that understands the technology, like, that can dial things up when you don't have time to do it. So, I mean, they are so important, and when you get a guy that you trust and you need them on the road, man, when they can't be there and you got to get a sub, you're like hyperventilating sometimes. Like, whoa, right?
Yeah. That's just how efficient the show works, and how we are being creatures of habit. Like I have, want the same amount of bar picks out, and like just my guitar strung a certain way and this and that. And then when you're working with someone for quite a bit of time, they know. They just know it. It's like clockwork, and it is the same. It's like Groundhog Day, man. When you get on stage, everything's the same. Down and right, it's going to be working. I mean, I think having a great tech is indispensable. We've actually just I had the same tech for years, and he had just taken a job with the Counting Crows, so he was out with them. But the guy that had come in and replaced him had been subbing for him for a little while. His name is Dave Pate, and he's been out with us for a while, but he's tech like Mick Ralphs and Rich Robinson, and he's with Bonamassa for a decade. But not only does this guy know how to set everything up, I mean, he knows guitars, and he's a ripping player. So we spend a lot of time jamming and trading licks.
It's really funny because like the drummer that's teching for me, the guy that's teching for me in Europe is the drummer in Al Jorgensen's band, The Ministry.
Oh, right.
And he's my tech. And my last tech used to tech for him, but he wanted to go out and he's teching for me. So I'm going to tell him, I said, listen, you better pay attention to what I'm playing. And he will, because I probably won't have the tone. He's German. So he'll learn all my licks. And if I get COVID, then he'll just play the show. That's why I already got it mapped out in my brain. It's amazing. It's funny. I don't know if you guys, and I mentioned them before on my podcast, but my real good, I see all those guitars back there, Brian. And I'm very good friends for years with a guy named Rick Cranitti, and I don't know you, Rick, but
I know Rick is. I don't know Paul, but I know he is.
Well, you guys would get along great with all those guitars and what you do. You're a real rocker, and Rick is actually he doesn't notice, but he's been my shrink lately. I call Rick, because I tell him like I'm waking up with these aches and pains. He goes, "It's called the '60s, dude." So he's been telling me, encouraging me, feel good that you're going on the road and you're doing what you're doing. But he told me about connecting with Eddie Van Halen some years ago. I think it was like 1980, and they just happened to be in a guitar store in LA. And he said the greatest thing about connecting with Eddie was that we didn't even talk about guitars. We were
Yeah.
just kind of hanging out and being people, and just like, they had that, the guitar was the initial connection, but
Yeah.
guitar players, they just had this vibe and they loved hanging together. And he
Yeah.
was just
Yeah.
telling me, and he goes, I think the guitar tech was there as well. And a guitar tech brought them together.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Matt.
yeah.
That was Ed's tech. Yeah. That
Yeah.
I never got a chance to run across him. We were supposed to catch up with him. And do you remember Mark Ferrari, who was a guitarist, LA guitar guy?
Mhm.
He was
Yeah.
one of the guitar players in Wayne's World in the band.
Oh, right.
Oh, wow.
Right on.
He's still playing, but him and Eddie were very close friends, and they used to race cars out in the desert together. So we were supposed to go out and catch up with those guys, and then it went south for Ed. He got pretty sick, and when he had relapsed. So I never got a chance to meet him, which I would have loved to. Even if we were just driving cars and talking about cars, I didn't even need to talk about
Guitars.
talk about the guitar stuff. I mean, what's there to talk about with him?
Yeah. Just being around him. He's a special guy.
Yeah.
But
we did get to tour with Wolfie. We toured with Wolf, a good portion of late last summer and early fall. And
sweet.
they have some good friends that are playing in the band with them. So
that's great.
And it's great. I love his music. I love that record. I'm really looking forward to what they're going to bring to the table.
Yeah. The guy must be carrying big sorrow around, like his father meant so much to him. Like all of ours did too. But Eddie was such an icon, great guitar player. And I often wonder, it was just Michael Anthony's birthday, I think either today or it was yesterday. This week, I know that much.
Yeah.
And I see him, and I know how I've read books on them, how they came together. They're like a family. And then they went through the band split, where and I know probably, Michael's heart must ache when he thinks and sees Eddie and hears him, because no one played like that,
Yeah, right.
So it was an amazing cat, And I know that kind of stuff inspired you as a rocker. I got to tell you, I was listening to the songs that you sent me, and one thing that cracked me up though, with the Octane track you sent me,
Right.
I was just thinking about, because I'm thinking about, we have a couple cars. So the one car that we have, I use as my truck. I move my gear in my Honda, and then the other one we go out if we go out on a date or whatever. But my Honda is it's got a few years old, and I'm thinking about buying a new car, and I'm thinking about holding out to get a car that has electricity, because they're making these. I'm really thinking about this stuff, because I'm sick of paying over $5 a gallon for gas.
It's crazy.
And then when I was listening to Octane this morning, I thought about Octane, and then I thought this song has got to be when did you record Gasoline? Where did you record that?
That would have been late 2002, early 2003, and we did it with Phil. Two tape at Studio 4 in Conchi.
Nice.
Wow. The big room.
The big room. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like such a, for now, right now would be that would be,
man,
the song,
Yeah,
is there? You didn't give it to me because of that reason of what's going on with Gasoline, or you just?
No, not necessarily. I kind of sent that to you just as that and the Foster Child tracks as kind of more of a sample of what my songwriting is and what my process is, because there's some similarities with
topical,
it. But,
the real topical. What's going on?
Yeah. At the time, and even the Candlebox track especially.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, that's really struck me. It's like you're really writing it's like current events, but the Gasoline one that you did in 2002, but you were like a foreseer of what's going to happen. I love it. I dig it. If you don't mind, because we don't have a lot of time, and a lot of time I'm like, I didn't get all the songs in.
Yeah.
Jim, do you have Gasoline queued up? Could we get to that, please? There we go.
There we go.
Right on.
So I kissed you goodnight, and I kissed you goodbye, but I never realized that it'd be forever. Oh no, living in shame. Never knew it's you to blame. I wish I were alive to makes you mine. The ghost now, baby, all in your dreams makes you wish they're true. With the pedal to the metal and gasoline will ride. And I never realized millions of miles between us. There's a mile for every line, one for every lie that's deceived us. And it seems so surreal. You can't hear what you feel. The more that you tried was the further you died. I wish it were right just to kiss you goodnight again. Ghost now, baby, all in your dreams makes you wish the truth. With the bell to the metal and gasoline, we're right upon the sky. Show starts, baby, now can't you see? We'll roll the ocean tides. With the bell to the metal and gasoline, we'll ride. And all we need is gasoline. And all we need is gasoline. And all we need is gasoline. With the bell to the metal and gasoline, we'll ride. All we need is gasoline. And all we need is gasoline. And all we need is gasoline. With the bell to the metal and gasoline, we'll ride.
Yeah. Wow.
Nice.
Hey, that's really nice. Is that our friend Bobby Prillis playing drums on that?
So yeah, that's Bob Prillis on drums,
Oh,
and
that's
Brian
amazing.
Quinn
Great.
on vocals, and Joey Burnt on bass, and Greg Delatovico on the other guitar. That was Octane from
Yeah.
back then. So I had written. That's a funny story with that song, man. I had written that song in like 1996. I was still in college,
Wow.
and I wrote it about a breakup that I had with this girl at the time.
Yeah.
And I was sitting on the song. I had a band right before Octane called Visiting Blackhand. That it was like the first band I ever formed when I moved to Philly to go to school
From
down here.
from where now? Where did you move from? Was it Pittston?
Yeah, Pittston, up in between Scranton and Wilkes-Barre,
All right.
here at East PA. So I moved down here to go to school at Westchester University. And yeah, so I was doing a lot of writing at that point. I had just gotten an acoustic guitar and started doing, just really kind of trying my hand at songwriting. And I wrote that song, and it had been hanging around for a while, and I had played it. I had met Brian Bortnick at the old Harbor Lights up on Grant, or up on the Boulevard, Roosevelt Boulevard, behind the Chickies and Pete's. He was doing Sunday nights there. So I would go in there. Yeah, I would go in there and I would play that song. And he was like, dude, we got to do something with that song. And then when we formed Octane, those guys kind of begged me to do it. And even though Octane being kind of more of a metal band at the time, that song was very like more of my country and Allman Brother influence type stuff. You could hear the B bender on it, the B bender guitar, and like a lot of acoustic stuff. And they begged me to do it, and we ended up putting it on that Octane record, and it went gangbusters for us.
Wow.
Yeah. It was,
I love it. I love it. Yeah, I'll tell you, you got a great voice. Is that you soloing? Is that you doing the guitar?
Yes, yeah, that was my
Ripping.
soloing on that. I'm actually
Right.
going to be putting out something coming up in the next year or so, and I'm going to redo that song a little more,
Awesome.
kind of like
Ah.
that, maybe even a little more countryist, I guess.
Yeah.
I'd love to put like a Hammond B3 in it, a little
Yeah.
more, little more
Yeah.
percussion.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll probably do a reworking of it just because it hasn't been out since 2003. You know.
And look, right now what's going on,
Yeah.
that man, really,
Yeah.
really nice, really great playing, man.
Thank
And
you.
our friend Phil Niccolo did the record, right? It
Yes.
sounds like a Phil record.
It does.
In the
It totally
and
does.
depth, it's got, like Phil never compresses anything too much.
Right.
You could hear the depth in it.
Yeah.
Drums sound like drums, guitar, it's like you could feel the room. It's really, I've brought Phil things that like, he's just he's a great engineer, he's a great producer, but his mastering chops are ridiculous, I mean,
Yeah.
and now with him doing vinyl, oh my God, like I did such a wonderful job on that Philly special that I can't even say. He's just absolutely terrific. He's got great ears. That sounds great. You mentioned, so you've been influenced. You mentioned that Octane was more of a metal thing, and then you came in the picture. With that, you brought more of a, you have more of a like a rootsy thing going on. You mentioned the Allman Brothers, like a country thing. So and another thing that I noticed too that struck me when I was listening to the other track is the Foster Child track you sent me. I went, I don't necessarily, it was like a Beatle, like the influences of Beatle tracks. You know what I mean? The vocal things that you were doing, the harmonies, and real quickly going back to the Gasoline thing, those harmonies that were going on, was that within the band or were you doing the harmony yourself? Did you overdub that?
That was Brian Bortnick, our singer. He's a master at that stuff, man. He's very, very good. He's a trained singer.
Yeah.
So he went to the art institute and everything, and it was a trained singer. But he's one of those guys harmony singing in general, I love. But it always intrigued me when a singer is so dialed into the melody, dialed into the pitch that he's just able to pick harmonies out at will.
What a remarkable thing to do too, because I've worked with singers. Fred, I don't know about you, but like I remember, I like Jeffrey Gaines once said to me, we were doing a track, and Jeffrey Gaines, who can sing the phone book, like even when he's jet lagged, the guy's like power personified. Comes out singing tone. When we were talking one day about so why don't you go? We were working on something. So why don't you go sing on this, sing this harmony? Because I'm not really sure where to put the harmony. I said, you're such an amazing, but he would right away when he went out there and like hear it. But like some of these train cats, like you were mentioning, really know it's like they're hearing it go, oh, I'm going to put, the octave under that. And it's like, oh God, it's amazing talent, amazing skill to have, it's.
And the patience and just the wherewithal of being in the song and serving the song. And me and you have had this discussion before. But serving the song, like you're not going to put a harmony on every single line of the chorus, like maybe a couple the key words or this and that. Like, that's the stuff that I love, and that's obviously Beatles were masters of. And
I heard you on the Foster Child song. I was hearing that what you were doing with that, the vocal. So before we play that, I wanted to ask you: are you home for a little while then? Right? When do you go out?
I got like another week out. Yeah, we're still in the middle of the tour for this record. I staged that up here too.
Good.
But it's a new Candlebox record, Wolves. So we're out. We've been out touring that since I had seen you on that 4th of July party a couple of years back.
Yeah.
So we'll be out touring that until right before Thanksgiving, and then we'll be done for a bit, and then kind of like the future of what's going on with this incarnation of Candlebox is I think it's going to be put down for a little while. Kevin is taking the original members back out because
I saw that. I read that. I got to tell you an interesting thing about Candlebox. Mm-hmm. When I was living in the West Coast, I nearly went to work for Maverick Records at one time.
Oh, right
on. I helped start this company called MP3.com when I lived in San Diego, and it was back in 1998, and it was like a website where anybody could put up their music. And I was lucky to go to work there. I couldn't even open a computer when I went there, and I learned so much being there, you know.
Yeah.
But at one point, I think after a couple of years of existence and doing what we did, we had a certain amount of eyeballs and people that came to our site. Record companies were reaching out to the music people at our company and asking us, hey, because we were collecting data. That time, it was a new thing where a company would collect data. So we knew what people liked to listen to.
Mhm.
So record A&R guys would reach out to me and a couple of other guys asking for that kind of data. And we started doing something called single servings, meaning that we would, and Jeremy Welts, who was at Maverick Records,
Yeah.
sent me Candlebox.
Yeah.
Back in 19, it was like 19, it was, actually, well, we got, I guess we got, they got together in like 1990. Was it 1992 or something?
Yeah,
like
the
that?
band started in 91. The first album was out in 93.
And so whatever was going on in like, and they were together all the way up to like the 2000s. Because I remember around 2000, we did a single serving with them.
Yeah.
You know, like I remember they were one of the bands that, and I was thrilled to do it because it was Madonna's label and they have Alanis Morissette and their lawyer from Alanis Morissette.
Yeah.
You know, I got, you know, it's a long story, got stock option stuff, but it was kind of cool that we were
You were there at the time.
Yeah, at the time and getting involved with like marketing bands, like, but that's when I, you know, look, we get inundated with music all the time. And especially when I was there, but I never forgot Candlebox.
Yeah.
I never did. And then when I moved back here, I guess it's been almost about 13 years when I moved back here. My friend Paul Hammond was telling me that you joined Campbell. What year did you join the band?
I joined in 2014.
And now, how did that come about? So that always interests me. You know, I know people that have auditioned for bands, or they knew somebody in the band, or so they were looking. Because I would imagine that somebody would hear your voice and go, we could use that guy. So how did it happen? How did it happen for you?
Yeah, me in 2014, Kevin, back in 2006 with Foster Child on that track that I sent you, Don't Let Go. Foster Child, we had signed with Warner Brothers, with the Warner Brothers imprint, and Candlebox had just gotten done with their hiatus and gotten out of their contract with Maverick. So they were the second signing to the label behind us that we were signed with. And we did our label showcase in Manhattan at Scott Weiland from the Stone Temple Pilots owned a club up there, and we had mutual friends. So we did a label showcase with those guys. Kevin and I met that night. We hung out, went partying in Manhattan until the morning, and then we just stayed in touch over the years. And then, you know, Foster Child did some opening dates. He had some side projects going on. So one of the side projects he had with Morgan Rose from Seven Dust, and they were recording out at the band live out at their studio in York. So Kevin was like, hey man, I'm in York. I'm working on this project. You want to come down and drop a couple solos on this stuff? So I went down. I did the session for him. I did one solo. I was packing up my guitar. He's like, where the hell are you going? I was like, I got to get back to Philly. I was doing a charity event, and he was like, could you play on another one? So I played on another one, and then that was basically what was my audition. And, you know, maybe a month or two later, he called me and said, hey man, we're making some personnel changes in Candlebox. Would you like to join the band? And that was a few years coming. We had spoken about me doing some work with him in a larger capacity, like as far back as 2011, but it didn't happen until the end of 2014. And then I started in 2015.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And you know, Fred, that sounds like a real cool thing going on, doesn't it? Like,
well, I mean, just goes to show you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah. A little bit of timing, a little bit of luck, and, you know, a lot of over preparation.
Well, over preparation. I mean, it's what you do. It's in your DNA. I mean, I get reminded about that sometimes. Like I mentioned, Crinity, like being my shrink.
Yeah.
Like I'm going out, and I always get these, like, because of, you know, with the hip and all that stuff. Once it's great. I'm guessing I'm about like 95%. It doesn't hurt me.
Right.
Like aches and pains, and I could be a bit of a head case. Like I'm going out and go, can I do it for, like, we're up for 2.5 hours sometimes. Usually it's like a 90-minute thing, but like some days longer, and I'm going like this long, and he goes, dude, as soon as you get up there, which is true, he's so right, everything goes away. It's like you're in your element, you know what I mean? It's like I've been doing this a long time. and
Yeah.
just do it, and there's changes, like I said, the gear has changed, and like you're listening to clicks and
Yeah.
doing certain things, but like I always want to get up to, like all you guys, I want to be at my best. And
Yeah.
when I don't feel like I'm at my best, I'm not going to do it anymore,
Yeah. Yeah.
and this whole fucking pandemic thing
Oh, man.
really did a number on my head. Like it was like horrible. I
Yeah.
taught a lot. Like Fred, I was busy teaching and figured keep the wheels greased, because
Yeah.
I would come out and I put a couple things together, and I have my little sessions here and there doing things, but it wasn't like, the pandemic put the kibosh on a lot of stuff,
Yeah.
and I was always impressed with bands that were going out. Like we did some dates. I saw that you went out. I know Freddie was going out to do stuff, but boy,
Yeah.
and joining Candlebox when you did must have been like because not that your other bands weren't established, it sounded like you had a rolling, but when the Candlebox thing was like it's almost in regularity. You're going out on the road up till whatever's going to happen in the future, but you had regular dates going out, right?
Yeah, well, that was, for sure, that was getting a call up to the majors. And with the band that was already established, with the catalog of music that I was already into. Their record came out when I was a junior in high school.
And you loved it.
And I loved it. Yeah, we went.
Oh, that's great.
In fact, I was sitting in the arena. I was at the Spectrum watching them open for Rush on the Counterparts tour. And it was like literally 20 years to the year that I.
Oh, man.
Wow.
So you're a lot
cool.
like Tommy Williams, who plays guitar. And what happened? Eric broke his collarbone skiing in Aspen right before we were supposed to go out for a long tour. And Tommy Williams, who was a fan, he was already pro guy. He played with a bunch of bands, and but he knew our material. Kind of like, I bet, like you were ready to step in. He knew. Eric used to call him his mini me.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Like he could, so it wasn't so much. It wasn't a stretch for him. Like I'm guessing, it was a natural progression for you to go in Candlebox. It was like I'm breathing this stuff,
Well,
right?
When Kevin and I had met and hung out, like I said, we had known each other since about 2006, 2007. But when I had met him we met for lunch in Beverly Hills in like 2011. And that's the first time he had ever even mentioned about us working together. I went home. I learned the entire catalog.
You're a good dude.
Yeah,
you're a good dude.
The second I got that call, I was ready. He was like, how long do you need to learn this stuff? I was like, I'm ready to go. I was just like rehashing it because I have like all the books. I like I had the whole folder of stuff like with all the songs in it and everything. And charted them all out. Like,
wow.
I was like, hey man, because if this, preparation meets opportunity.
Yeah, there you go. That's it.
That's how you do it. No,
that's how you do it. That's a beautiful one. I love that, man.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Hey, so why don't we, before I play the Candlebox thing, we go on with our chat. I'm going to play a little Foster Child.
Great,
Don't Let Go. Don't Let Go is what we have, right?
Yeah, and this band was, and this is the band that I had formed with Kevin Miller, who was in Fuel.
Right on.
It signed our contract about a year and a half after we had written this batch of songs. But this was another one very similar, like kind of in the vein of what Gasoline was. I was always like super intrigued with like having that tagline that just beats you to death with the great melody at the end of the song, like how a lot of how Bob Seger writes, like the Against the Wind type stuff. Like that 70s arena rock.
Oh my God. Listen, man, I Ramblin' Man. I can't get enough of that drum groove.
It's so
it's
good.
Matter of fact, after I got done doing this, I'm going to listen to that because you brought up Seeger.
Yeah.
But it's great, So Jim, if we could play
he's on it.
Yeah, baby.
As we wave goodbye in denial, I reached for you. The eyes were on our side all the while. All that we've been through. The nights keep flying by. I'm all alone, she cried. And they say nothing nights keep flying by. I'm all alone, she cried. Nothing lasts, nothing lasts forever. Head on a lonely road, no Bible looking backward. Stand beside myself and the feelings that I lack. Don't worry about me, baby, you know that I'm alone. Don't worry about me, baby, you know I'm coming home. Don't let go. Don't let go. Don't let go. Don't let go.
Nice.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Let me ask, is that Bobby again?
No, that was Kevin Miller
Oh, that's sweet.
Yes.
On drums?
on drums. Yeah, it's
Oh,
Kevin
that's
Miller
great.
on drums on Fuel, and I wrote that one. That was for my wife. That was our wedding song, actually.
Ah,
Nice.
there you go. Don't let go. And she hasn't, right?
She hasn't. We've been together 26 years, and
Oh
she.
my God.
Awesome.
she-
I met your wife. Lovely lady. That's great,
Yeah.
man. That's
Yeah,
great. You got a
she's
nice
saying-
thing.
Yeah, we met in
No.
college. It was before all the crazy stuff.
Yeah,
Uh,
but it's,
yeah.
you got to find somebody in your life that we're all very lucky,
Yes.
Freddie is, I
Yeah.
am,
Yeah,
you
man.
are,
Yeah,
yeah. Somebody that understands, the musician thing,
get the life and the lifestyle.
lifers, lifestyle, get it.
Yeah, yeah,
you know,
yeah. And that's what that song's about, really. The whole thing is about on the road, like the lyrically kind of
Mm.
influenced by, Faithfully and
Yeah.
Tiny Dancer and all that type of stuff.
Yeah, indeed. So when the band is taking the break, you said you're gonna put something out. You're working on something. I read that Candlebox is gonna do. They're just doing a reunion, couple gigs, right? It's not like. What's
So
the-
he's gonna tour for the summer. What they're planning on touring for the summer. I haven't seen any dates, but yeah, he's gonna take the original guys back out. It's the 30th anniversary of the debut.
Uh-huh.
So he's going to take the original guys back out. But then, he was talking about hanging up the cleats for a bit. So, I don't know, or I don't know if he's going to stay retired. Kevin talks about a lot of that stuff
Yeah,
quite a bit.
yeah.
But, the only thing I'm like, hey, man, you got to do you, do
Yeah.
what's good for you. Me being a hired gun, I got to kind of
Yeah.
look out for myself as well. So,
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
but I was like, yeah, man, you do you. And I'm just going to work on some of my own music. And if somebody else needs a touring guy, I'm going to learn their
Yeah.
stuff and go do that,
Well, listen, you still got a lot of juice and you can feel it. Every time
Yeah.
I'm around you, you're really, you're doing it and you got the desire and you still got a lot to say.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
it like maybe like Kevin, he's getting the feeling like, okay, I'm moving. I'm learning to take, you almost got to learn how to take a back seat sometimes.
Yeah.
But good. I just, you're into such cool stuff. And, just even watching you play when I've been to the Rib House, like, you're not a one trick pony, you got a lot of things that have influenced you. And musically, I think that there's, like, I don't know about you, but like, I feel like, you're always open to learning new things and trying new things. And that's huge for a musician.
Yeah.
I
I was always like that, even since I was a kid. While
Yeah.
I was watching my brother's bands, they would rehearse in my parents' basement. I always made it a point to surround myself with guys that were just doing it on a level that exceeded where I was. You know what I mean? I
made you better.
do that. Yeah, because it really did. It made me better. And I was just always, I wanted to learn. And as far as like influence wise, I have a really broad stroke of what
Yeah.
I like. Like I went into college as a classical guitar major, and then
Wow.
but I went in as I was in like basically like a death metal band going into it, and then as
Yeah.
I got older, like I got way into like Bob Dylan and the band, and
Yeah.
Clarence White from the Byrds is one of my favorite players, and
Right
Roy
on.
Oh, wow.
Bannon, and so I got a pretty broad stroke of stuff that I just, if it's good, I like it. I don't really put
Yeah.
any kind of labels on music. It's just
Yeah.
it sounds good and
You hear it.
affects me. Yeah. That,
Yeah.
I like it,
Yeah, I think I think, I think that's a great thing, to be open-minded about stuff. You hear things and always learning, I'm like a big fan of the Kindle. I'm always bringing books on the road and stuff like that. I'm like filling stuff, like reading stuff, and then you learn. And like, we're living in a day and age where, like, Brian, I admire that you understand that you love doing it. You do it because you love it, but you understand it's a business.
Yeah.
Even how one goes about marketing themselves, and especially like that whole new frontier of social media, which sometimes I got a love-hate relationship with, because some things I don't understand. But like, being that I was opportunistic with the mp3.com thing, and learning some things out of just being at the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
I kid people. I worked for that company, and then I stayed with Michael Robertson at another company. Actually, I had a MacBook Pro in, I think it was like 1995. And I could barely open it and turn it on. And at the end, when I left his company, I was queuing it. I was like writing a little Linux code, So like, we really have a capacity for learning if we're open to it, and be patient.
Yeah.
I tell when I'm teaching, probably like you, Freddie, it's like, when you need to get from A to Z, you have to, you got to hit B, C, D, E, F, G, all the alphabet, to get there. It doesn't happen overnight. You got to work at it,
Yeah. I remember when you started working for mp3.com.
You were
I was at Disc Makers.
Yeah.
And then you started record label.
Yeah.
Mosquito Records. And
Yes.
we did some business together.
Yeah. Oh my God.
We did a Fran Smith album.
I got to tell you, that was another thing too, because I'm sure we've all been in those. We've done major labels and we've done independent releases.
Yeah.
And I've always learned, I've learned a lot from mistakes. When I started a business in California, it's like, oh my God, learning about taxes and learning how, like, it's almost as if they're trying to kill you before you even get started, like quarterly tax, like like if you're trying to do an independent company, or even, I think about these young cats putting out records. I had lunch with a independent guy that's been working his own thing, writing songs, and he's trying to run his own business. And it's like so hard if you don't have any kind of funding. Or like, now people are doing a lot of crowdfunding things online.
Yeah,
people do that to kind of come up with money to support whatever you're going to do. But back in the day, all of us, like, you were signed to a major label. Freddie was, I was. So we knew. The one thing I didn't always know was, like, back in the day, we were so young that at the end of the day, have these big record budgets and then having to pay it back. Was always like, oh, fuck. How much did we spend? And when we took out the dinner, you think the label's taking out the dinner. It's oh no, that's going to go into what you're paying back on recouping,
Yeah, no, you're paying for that. You just don't know it yet.
Oh yeah.
I
would always wonder where's all that money going, because I'm not making it. Somebody is.
I remember I did a tour in '86. I was on the road, and I remember we sold a lot of records. For us, we got a gold and a platinum record. And remember, I finished the tour, and I ended up with a little bit of. I remember I got a check. I still remember I got a check for I'm going to say this, $18,000, right, at this time. Now, which was like, holy shit! It was like unbelievable. But I did so many dates. And we were like making money on the dates, but it was like, okay, now I can do something. I remember I didn't even trust myself with the money back then, because I was wacky with money. But you sell all this merchandising, you sell records, and if you see anything at the end of the day, you're lucky. And then you realize you're only getting a song when you're with the majors. They're making like, whether on your contracts is 80% of the 100%, and then you get your like 10%, and then everybody's getting that little piece of that.
Yeah, right.
Anybody understand that math? But it's tough, and there's something to be said for a lot of these artists that are going out and doing it independently because they control their own destiny. But then they get to the point where, how do you get your music out there, and how you want people to hear what you're doing? It's like you're making great music, going to put out a record, and now like I know you, Brian, and I want to hear what you're doing. I want to hear what's next, and I'll go search you out. But then how do you get it out? I know both our wives are in the PR business. Dallin is kind of does it a little bit these days. I know your wife is what, we rely on PR people to help us. Yeah. But you got to find those pipelines and those opportunities, and it's not easy because there's so much stuff out there.
Yeah, and I think I would be more attuned to like a distribution situation through a label than I would actually. Yeah, even if they would offer money, as a budget up front, I don't even know if I'd accept it because it seemed to derail a lot, especially in the mid 2000s when Foster Child got signed. We did get an advance, and that we were probably one of the last bands ever to get a pretty substantial advance at that. And, so everybody could quit their jobs and do this and just concentrate on music. I mean, at that point, I was full time in music anyway, but a couple of the other guys weren't. It did afford that opportunity, man. I don't know if I'd ever want to do that again.
Because it's like then you're really in the crapshoot. You got to make something happen, and even if you have a successful record, and you look at the money that's spent, and it's like, But so a lot of times the independent, it's just a tough deal. I don't know how we went down that road, but I know that we've all experienced the other end of it, and the world has changed so much, and getting music out there has changed so much. It's just a different world, man.
I mean, personally for me, man, with just going out, when I decided to go out hired gun and stop either running bands or joining other, when I just went hired gun, that was, I felt the best decision I was able to make for myself, and figure out a way like, all right, now how could I brand myself? How could I mark myself? I need to figure out a bunch of different tentacles to make money. Because it's just going to be, I'm only going to get out of it what I put into it at this point. And with the band, it's tough doing that. I kind of got fed up doing all that work and making basically like the equal money.
You're doing all the work. And you know what? I mean, and listen, and what you have to say is so valuable, man, because these young cats, I'm reading a book by, athletes, even though they got the agents and stuff, some are smarter, like anything else, are smarter than others. I'm reading Grant Hill, the basketball player that played for the Pistons, and I forget where he ended up, but he played for the Pistons for a long time, but he was a Duke basketball player, wrote a book called Game. And I'm reading it right now, and man, it was at times I was just, he just understood, I mean, sometimes he learned through some mistakes, but he had the guidance of his father being a professional athlete, but he understood marketing and branding and what to be associated with it and what not to be associated with, It's like, it's stuff that if more young people thought, like, I learned later in life, but it's really important thing. It's important stuff that helps you with your career and knowing, what's the best avenue to get yourself out there, man. This book is terrific. If you get a chance, you should read it. It's really, really good. And I'm shocked sometimes about how much, and like he would do these interviews. He was talking about doing this interview and he stopped eating junk food, but McDonald's was paying him a fortune to be one of their pitch people. Oh, man. So after he got done practice, he would stop in at McDonald's, and he goes, and I stopped doing it. And I was doing an interview, and I said, I'm no longer eating that crap at McDonald's. And he went, I mean, it was like McDonald's called him up and said, that crap is paying you $5 million,
Oh, man.
So, I mean, hey,
it's
well, what a
amazing.
great opportunity. I mean, I those kind of things, in the hip hop world, a lot of the hip hop music, those artists were like really got involved with the branding. They got involved with clothing companies, got involved with they were pitching stuff. Like not a lot of rock and roll bands were doing that.
Yeah, right.
Hip hop artists were doing shoes and clothes. I mean, it was like, wow. And, I mean, and it dawned on me reading the book, how those guys really, like there was an artist, his name was Cannabis, and he did hip hop music. And I met him at mp3.com, and he was giving his record away for free.
Right.
Because at the merchandise table, he was selling a Frisbee. Right. And he was selling other things that's where he was going to make his money.
Right.
It was like, wow, like who thinks like that? It was like pretty amazing, like coming up with ways to and he never became like huge like some of these other hip hop artists, but they were coming up with, doing things that I never saw with rock and roll. I remember early on doing a tour with Loverboy and Mike, it wasn't Mike Reno, but their guitar player, Paul Dean.
Yeah, Paul. Yeah.
Paul Dean was given a Budweiser guitar. It was a flying V with the Budweiser thing, and he said, "I'm playing the guitar," and he got like 50 grand to play the guitar. He played it one song. Yeah. But
I have one here. I have a Budweiser guitar.
Did you do one?
I have
Smart guy.
Wow. Octane was with Anheuser-Busch, and they actually paid for half of our record that we did with.
See, there you go. Wow. I mean, that's a world that a lot of young cats don't even think about. It's crazy. Well, hey, listen. So, what do you got coming? Like, what's happening with you before? Because I want you to promote what's happening with you, Brian. Like,
well, we have, so obviously Candlebox, we're out on this tour for supporting Wolves, our new record that came out last year. But yeah, we're going to be at the Philly Live Casino and Event Center on Sunday, September 4th. So tickets are available at axs.com, Axis, like the television channel, .com. If you go on axs.com, there's tickets available for that show there. It'll be my first time playing in Philly with Candlebox since I joined.
Nice. Wow.
And it'll
what's the date of that? What is that?
It's Sunday, September 4th at the Philly Live Casino, the new event center down at the stadium. So
I'm in Norway. I'd love to see that. I go to Europe. I come back for a few weeks and I go to Norway, but I would love to see that.
Yeah,
I'd love to see.
I'm there. That's my birthday weekend, and it's the first time that Candlebox has been back in town since like 2008. So,
wow.
Yeah, it's been a long time since.
That's a big celebration for your friends. I mean, you got like, I have to say, you are loved, man, in the area. I mean, when I mentioned that you were going to be on the podcast, I got a lot of email, and your buds, your homies, they adore you, man.
Oh man,
we see why. You're a good guy, and you're deep in it.
Thank you. Yeah, I feel very blessed, man. I'm blessed with family and friends that I love to death, and I got their back and they got mine. And I have a job that that makes people happy. I can't really ask for anything more than that. And it makes myself happy.
Yeah. I got you. That's cool. Hey, let's play a little bit Candlebox.
Awesome.
Which one do we got? I've Got a Gun.
Yeah. So this is off of this is off my first studio release for Candlebox from 2015.
Nice.
That album was called Disappearing in Airports. And there you go.
Cool. I
wild one spinning, spinning round my head. Defensive, overloaded and bent. Yeah, it'll make you crazy. It'll get too high. Burning like it's baby. I'm out my fucking mind because I hide behind these scenes and my God, that is a bleeding. This letter recommended. These rights belong to me. I've got a gun. This argument of ignorance makes perfect sense to me. This letter recommended. These rights belong to me. I've got a gun. This argument of ignorance makes perfect sense to me. You better run. This letter recommended. These rights belong to me. I've got a gun. This argument of ignorance makes perfect sense to me. Because you hide behind the scenes. You're cold as
There you go.
Yeah.
That's rocking. Guns. Is that, like now another topical song with everything that's going on today,
Yeah, Kevin kind of
Rough.
lyrically went down that rabbit
Yeah.
hole with that
Yeah.
song. That was, I guess, we'd written that right around the time there was one of however many hundreds of school shootings that happen
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
Now that we've almost become desensitized to.
Yeah.
But I initially had sent that to you just
Yeah.
as kind of something more recent that I was involved with that was
Yeah.
more upbeat.
Yeah.
I love the horn stuff in that
Yeah.
song, and the obviously the message is important,
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
topical. But
Oh man, well, every time I listen, I just kind of down. I hate to end the thing on the show or the podcast. I don't know. I mean, last night some 76-year-old guy was taking a walk in somewhere in Northeast Philly. Everybody loved him in the neighborhood. Some guy ran by him, shot him in his head.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw the news of that. I mean, what the fuck? I mean, the guy, everybody loved him, and they're gonna catch the son of a bitch. And I mean, we're living in a world where it's like you use the word desensitized, and it certainly hasn't done it to me yet because it just freaks me out to no end. And hopefully we can figure this thing out, man. Where it's just something's gotta happen.
Yeah, it'd be great, and it's moving in the right direction, man. I grew up, in the mountains, so hunting and fishing and everything else like that. It was a part of our life up there.
Exactly. So, but you understand what we're dealing with. It's like common sense got to kind of win out, and we got to figure it out. It's got to be figured out. I'm not into taking people's guns. I want to be realistic about how when you see these freaking AR-15s and people are blowing their heads off kids, and it's awful, man. It's brutal.
Yeah, there's a logical way to do it, and mental health reform and all that type of stuff. Yeah, and without going too far down that rabbit hole, but yes, I wasn't really. My point wasn't. I wanted you to hear that song only because that was something that had that there was like bits and pieces of that song sitting around from the previous incarnation of Candlebox, and it was brought in, and we all worked it out and hashed it out, and that was the end result. And I was always very proud of that song
Nice.
because it was one of the very first things we had written together.
we're coming close to. I have to show you. So like you, I'm a big hat guy. So I got about 20 hats. I got to figure that they don't get destroyed. I got to fill them up and everything. And I got the Jeffs and I got a different thing, but I'm a big fan of the hat, as I know you are.
Yeah, I got a couple of my guys here.
There you go. Rock on. I love that. Very cool. Yeah.
A bunch of them are upstairs. Yeah.
You wear them well, bro.
I'm a huge fan of the Sky Piece, man. Huge fan of the Sky Piece.
Hey, so
I wore my my Eagle shirt in
right on
today.
Yeah,
I caught that.
My Jason Kelsey shirt.
Oh, right on. Hey, so
I caught that.
Hey, so let me ask you. But you're closer to. You probably grew up. You got Pittsburgh Steelers. You got the Eagles. How do you do it? I mean, do you like root for both teams? Or?
Yeah. So like growing up where I grew up in the Wyoming Valley, like we're 90 miles from Manhattan, 90 miles from Philly.
Yeah.
Obviously like 4.5 from Pittsburgh, but in that area. So I grew up actually. I love the Phillies in the National League because I love Steve Carlton. I was a left-handed pitcher growing up. But I loved Ron Guidry from the Yankees. So I follow the Yankees in the like Don Mattingly was a big hero of mine.
Sure.
Oh yeah.
So so I followed the Yankees and the Phillies, but I was always a diehard Eagles fan. And actually, oddly enough, my AFC team I would follow. I was a big John Elway fan.
I like John Bender too, so that's cool.
Like John Elway. I was a huge John Elway fan, so I followed the Broncos in the AFC. But I'm a diehard Eagles fan. I go to Pilot game of the year. Yeah.
Well, we're gonna all have to go to one when they come back. I think they're gonna be good.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, Brian, I got to thank you so much for being on the podcast. We've been trying to do it for a while. It was really an honor to have you on there, on here. Freddie, as always, it's beautiful to see you, my brother. And
likewise,
we all got to hang, go out and have a beer, do something. I love you guys. And I want to thank everybody for joining us on the ITP on in the pocket. And we'll catch you next time from Europe.